Get started. 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Just wanted to provide a midday update on our storm restoration efforts here at Memphis Light Gas and Water. So, Mike, if you could go to the next slide, you'll see, as you all know, on Sunday evening we had storms that rolled through, causing more than 122,000 customers to lose power. As of now, we have restored power to 71,000 customers, meaning there are 51,000 customers left to restore. On the map that was displayed a moment ago, and will be again, you'll see the areas in blue are areas that have been restored. The areas in red are still yet to restore and typically have suffered the majority of the damage. Of the outages that we have, about 23,000 are within the city of Memphis, 11,000 are in unincorporated Shelby County, about 8,000 are in the Bartlett area, 3,900 in both Millington and in Lakeland, 900 customers are impacted in Arlington, 400 in Collierville, and 50 in Germantown. All of those are coming down. We are working in all areas of the service area, so those numbers are down even from this morning when they were first reported. So our teams are continuing to bring the numbers down. Yesterday I reported that we may have to issue a precautionary boil water advisory, Mike, and we did that yesterday afternoon for a very limited portion of northern Shelby County, where there are 1,073 customers who were impacted. Now, there was no issues with the water, but when the pressures dropped below 20 psi, we were ordered by regulation to issue that. I am pleased to report that our water pumping system is back up and fully operational. Those pumping stations that were impacted by the electrical outages are now operating normally. Pressures are beginning to build, and you can reasonably expect that by tomorrow afternoon we will lift that boil water advisory. Just remember, for those that thinking back to December, once the pressure stabilizes and we're confirmed that it's above 20 psi, we take samples, which we anticipate doing here in just a few hours, and then those samples have to incubate for 18 hours before we can declare that it's safe for everybody to drink without boiling. So probably tomorrow afternoon is when you can expect that boil water advisory to be lifted. That's very good news. We are monitoring other critical functions. There are, in some of the municipalities, the wastewater treatment plants. Some of their lift stations are still without power. They're all operating on generators right now, so those are a focus for us so that we don't precipitate another crisis. We have one hospital that remains out, that is St. Francis Bartlett. Our teams are working on trying to get them powered back now. That is one of our critical functions that we have, and we remain focused on the other priority areas, which are water systems, sanitary sewer systems. We're monitoring all of that to make sure, again, that all of those function normally. So we are down to the point where we have identified a significant amount of damage that needs to be repaired. We have increased the number of crews to 90 from yesterday that are out actually making repairs. We have increased the number of tree trimmers. As you know, a significant amount of our damage is due to downed trees and limbs. We now have 79 crews actively working to clear trees. We have 50 more crews that are still doing damage assessment just to make sure we haven't missed something. And then we also have 40 troubleshooters out there, and those are the folks who can identify those relatively rapid to restore issues. They will walk a line, they will discover an outage, and if they can refuse something quickly, they will do that. So we have that is the main number of crews, but they are supported by literally hundreds of people behind the scenes to make sure they have all of the equipment, tools, and supplies they need to get the work done. So it will still take several days. I want to give an example here. If you have been to the Wolf Chase area, you know that straight line winds there knock down a substantial number of poles and primary power lines. We anticipate to get all of that back in exactly the order it was before will probably take 2 days from today. Pretty substantial damage. Some of the other areas where you can see some trees that have pulled down primary, to clear the trees, to reset the poles, all the transformers and switches, this is going to still be several days. So I want folks to know that the bulk of customers will be restored in just a few days. There may be some that linger to the end of this week and into the weekend. That is just a byproduct of the complexity of the restoration effort. There are areas where the entire distribution system has been impacted, and we're going to have to essentially reset nearly every pole and transformer. That's a heck of a lot of work. So we think that number will be small, but I just want to set expectations. We know going into the hot weather of Thursday and Friday that it's important to get as many people on as we can. And so that is our focus of main effort. If I could switch briefly, there are some of our customers who I know have struggles with the food that they had in their refrigerator that is no longer fresh and good. For individuals who take part in the SNAP program, there is an opportunity for individuals to place a claim and to get replacement food through SNAP. We have the website here, and I would ask our friends at the press if you would share that broadly so that individuals can take part in that. We'll leave this up so you all can get a picture afterwards if you'd like. Last I'll say, let's all help our friends and neighbors. That's the best thing that we can do. Shelby County is known throughout the country as the most giving community, and that means we care about each other. So I already know that people are reaching out to friends, companies are reaching out to others to help out. So I'd ask friends and neighbors, especially as we get to Thursday and Friday, let's make sure we check on people who we know are vulnerable. Whether we're having an electric crisis or not, we know that that is the case here in Memphis and Shelby County. So let's check on each other and make sure that we are able to connect people with the help that they need. So with that, I will stop and take any questions that you have.
You said we should be back up and running within a few days. What do you mean by that? Is that two, like, full days, or is it going to be longer?
Well, it just depends on the type of damage. So I've asked people to be prepared for multiple days of outages, and I think our customers have done that. So I can't give you a specific end date because there are some that are more complex. You will note that substantial restoration. We're on Tuesday here. That's 71,000 customers restored just since Sunday. So in 48 hours time, that's a pretty remarkable pace. I anticipate that that pace might slow a little as we get more complex outages. So we'll do our level best to get people as quickly as we can. If I was to give a specific end date, I think I would have low confidence in that because of the complexity of some of these restorations and the complexity of our grid. There are many things that are connected together here. So when I think I have the problem solved, I may not actually have the problem solved till I try to re-energize. So.
Is there anything you could tell us specific about restoration efforts in the Lakeland area?
Well, we do have crews that are out there working in the Lakeland area. I think I can give one specific example because we're working in all of the areas, but one that comes to mind. Along Seed Tick Road, I know that there are two distribution lines down and two of our distribution poles that are down, and I know our crews started working out there at about 8:30 this morning. That's one of the areas, and as I said, in the Lakeland area, there's about 3,900 people out. That number is down from more than 5,000 just at about 6 o'clock this morning. So restoration efforts are well underway.
And then also, are you aware of some residents at OGW customers saying that they received a text message saying their power was restored, but that wasn't the case?
Sure. So again, I'll talk a little bit about that. That is a source of frustration for customers and our staff alike. We have a system that automatically sends a text message when the system believes your power to be restored. So I'll give an example just to talk broadly. We have a circuit, and that circuit will have 1,000 customers on it. When those 1,000 customers are off and our team is able to re-energize the circuit, the system will say, we believe your power is restored. Now, the majority of people on that circuit may have power, but there are laterals that come off of that circuit down a specific street. If the fuse for that street was not reset, we just didn't know about it yet because we fixed the circuit, the customers on that street would receive a message saying your power is restored, and they would say, well, no, it's not. And that's why we ask you to report back in. Now our team will go out and reset that fuse. The people on that street would get a message saying your power has been restored. And you who live on that street say, well, no, it's not. and you would report it again, and then our team would come out and would look and say, well, there is a problem from that lateral line to the service to your house. So we've zeroed in on it. So it's frustrating. We are working on a system that we think will give us a better ability to report that out. We know it's frustrating. That's why when we have as many outages as we had, last weekend we turned off those text alerts because people were routinely getting your power's back on. Well, no, it's not. Your power's back on, because every time we fixed a circuit, we thought that we had restored power to the majority of people, but people on the laterals were not restored. We know how frustrating that is. But hopefully that's a good explanation that you all understand. The system says if the circuit's on, most people should be on. Then we'll go down to the lateral that goes down the street, then we'll go right down to the drop at your house. So, yes.
Sorry. A lot of people have not been able to report outages. Our reporter Daniel met some elderly residents of Millington who could not report them because they couldn't charge their cell phones. So what
Sure.
is the option for those who can't even report an outage in their neighborhood still 48 hours later?
So the good news is that our system does a really good job of telling us what's out. So for those very broad-ranging outages along our distribution system, we'll be able to know that they're out. Their friends and neighbors will likely be reporting that there is an outage, so we will be in that area. Obviously, for an individual outage at their home, if they don't have a phone or a cell phone, that's why I was talking about taking care of each other and having to check in on each other just to make sure that someone knows they're out of power. So there are those, I think the term is elder orphans. They are some of our residents who do not have family members that are here, and it's an unfortunate circumstance, so that's why we have to rely on the community to help them out. So we ask people to report outages whenever you know about one, but just because you haven't reported it doesn't mean that we don't know there's an outage in that area. So, yes,
So
go ahead, Sharon.
clearly we see the images of all the trees and the lines down. When you talk about there's some complex issues that crews are facing out there. Just
Sure.
so people at home understand, what are these issues, right? Like what is taking so long?
So, yeah, I'll give a good example. Thank you for that. So one of to talk about how intertwined this is, we have one of our water pumping stations that distributes water, one of our 9 that distributes water across the system. There is a road that accesses the well field where the wells, which are powered by electricity, pull the water from the ground, send it to our pumping station. When the electrical outage happened, our team knew that power was down in the area. They went to check on our wells, and there was a tree that was across the access road, blocking access to our well field. In that tree was primary electrical wire. It was wrapped around that tree across the road. Just to get access to the road to check on the well field meant we had to have tree cutting services come out to remove the tree, but first we had to have electrical troubleshooting crews go out to make sure that circuit was technically dead. In other words, they had to go to both ends, make sure it was cut off before a tree cutting crew could get out there to cut the tree that had primary electrical wire wrapped in it. Once it was killed, then they could remove that very large tree. Then they could begin troubleshooting the issues at the well, bring some generators in if they had to. So that's the first example that comes to mind about how multivariate this is. We have partnerships with Shelby County government, City of Memphis government, who have tree crews who can help clear the roads. But when there's electrical power in there, it takes a lot of coordination to make sure people are staying safe.
Speaking of coordination, I'm pretty sure you're aware, just on the street alone, there's several traffic lights that are out.
Yes.
City of Bartlett yesterday reported there's 24 intersections. That's probably changed today, I don't know.
Yes.
But is there any coordination about traffic control? We've seen
Sure.
some people not treating intersections like, four-way stops, but is there any coordination going on?
Absolutely there is. There are 794 signalized intersections throughout our community. All of those are maintained by the City of Memphis Engineering Department. There's contracts with the other municipalities for them to do that. If you have seen the new standards that are going in, we're removing the overhead lines with the light hanging from the middle and putting in the arms from the side. That is a modern traffic signal that has fiber optics, and there's a provision there for at a future time for a generator to be added to that. What we have seen around the area is that sometimes that traffic signal infrastructure has been torn down, meaning they have to fix the signal. Most times it's just an outage, an electrical outage that also feeds that traffic signal. So when you came yesterday, none of the lights on Witten were working. Today they're all working. So that's the coordination that we work with the city engineer to get those traffic signals back on. He has fiber optics to all of those. He knows which ones are operating, which ones are not, which ones need power, and which ones need a restoration effort. And so that work is underway, and we do that with every power outage. Your point is an extremely valid one, though. If you see a traffic signal that is not working, come to a four-way stop and then proceed when the way is clear. Yes, sir.
Yesterday you had mentioned about the self-healing infrastructure.
Yes.
Investing in. Do you have an outline of how long that's going to take to get to that point where it can be self-healing, and could you also define a little bit more about what that is?
Sure. So what we're talking about is a distribution automation system that has fault location, isolation, and restoration, and it's automatically controlled. It's a series of switches that are installed into our distribution system. We have about 400 of those installed already. We have about 1,600 more to go. We will do that between now and 2027. So we're putting a lot of those in. It comes with a communication system that talks to all of those switches. And once all of the switches are in and the communication system is in, much of the work that we do now, it wouldn't stop a storm like today from putting the power out where lots of trees come down, but it would automatically reroute power to people that can get it without us having to do a manual switching operation. So it would typically cut down an outage by at least 50% because it would automatically switch power and reroute power to as many people as can take it. When I say 50%, I mean across the entire system. So for people who have low reliability today, they will see a significant increase in their reliability. So this is a modern distribution system that will be on par with the best distribution systems in the country and will give us the best reliability that we can get out of the system that we have, along with infrastructure replacement. Modern transformers, modern construction standards, replacing old infrastructure, and a significant amount of tree cutting, which we'll have to do to get back on that 3-year standard.
Doug, we're experiencing multiple
Yes.
utility crises a year, and a Marlin man just wanted us to ask you where his money and everyone else's is going.
Sure. It is going into number one, it's going into the purchase of electrical power, gas, and the production of water. That is the majority of the money that we have operationally. On the capital investment side, the money that I just talked about to pay for that automatic distribution system is exactly what we're spending it on. We have spent a significant amount of money on modernizing our water infrastructure. You'll recall when we talked in December, there had been a freeze the year before with the water distribution crisis. Just in that year, we invested substantially. Our pumping stations and our wells worked much better. They did not freeze up. We were able to push a lot more water. So we made substantial investments. Our gas system, something that we typically have not seen a failure in, is we have recapitalized that system to a modern standard and replaced a lot of the old infrastructure. So that is in the ground. And I realize it's hard to understand and hard to feel the impact of the absence of an outage, but our gas system is incredibly reliable because of those infrastructure improvements, as well as our water system, which is much more reliable. The issue here was just a loss of electric power at some wells, which we couldn't get to. So, and the electric system, we have spent a significant amount of money. Again, those 400 switches on our way to 2,000, as well as replacing rotten poles, cross arms, and old infrastructure. We are well down the road on that. So will you feel the net effect immediately? No, you will not. What we're also combating is some historic weather in our community, especially this year. We have never seen this kind of severe storm with this kind of frequency this year. So I know it's up close and personal. I feel it as well. And so hang with us because there is help coming and we are going to make it better.
And then kind of going off that here in the short term, you talked about it, we're going to have triple digits in a couple days.
Yes.
What is your message to people who might not have their power back by then, if they're just kind of
Sure.
hanging in there?
Yeah, well, A, I appreciate them hanging in there. B, I ask our community to come to the aid of those who need help. I know that the city and the county will be coordinating some cooling centers for those who need it. Our partners at MATA will make sure that people have the opportunity to take advantage of that. And our team feels it. We understand the obligation that we have to get power to people, that people rely on it. Electricity is not a nice to have in today's day and age, it's a must have. And so we feel the pressure to deliver. You deserve a system that works. This is a severe event that would knock out power in almost any system in the country. So we have called on every resource to help get it back on as quickly as we can.
You mentioned the
Thank you.
increasing frequency of these severe events. Can the grid keep up with this level and this frequency of storms?
Well, that's exactly why we intend to invest in the program that we're putting in place is reliability, resilience, and performance improvement. So we measure ourselves for our reliability, our resilience, and our performance improvement. And as I've talked about before, historically, you'll see the data that we have that shows our reliability has eroded over time because of lack of investment over time, because of lack of resources to do that. But we have the resources now, and we're going to make that big investment so that we can get the reliability and resilience back to where it needs to be. It's not just weather. The electrification of things is coming at us very quickly. Electric vehicles, more flexible opportunities for our customers to choose how to use energy. So we have our foot on the gas to make sure that we can meet the expectations of this community going forward.
Just in case there's not an update tomorrow, and I don't know, this is too premature to say this, but is it an effort to get people back their power before this weekend? Because like she said, we're going to be filling the triple digits tomorrow and into this weekend. So is that the effort?
But my effort is to get it on as fast as I possibly can. If I had the magic wand and I could turn everybody's power on today, I would do so. So yes, we have a goal to get it as fast as we possibly can. I don't set a limit to say, well, you guys have 4 days to get it on or 3 days to get it on. The drive is always, how fast can we do it? And can we go faster? It just takes a while sometimes. So it's not as if we set a date and say, well, great, you have 3 days to meet that expectation. No, it's as fast as we can, and there just will be some areas that are just tough to get done in that period of time. So thank you all. I appreciate you. We'll let you know if there's going to be an update tomorrow.
Just one more question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yesterday you had said that there's a reason why we don't invest fully in burying these lines to prevent maybe these tree limbs
Oh, sure.
taking out entire acres off the grid. Could you just go through that again?
So restoration efforts are well underway.
And then also, are you aware of some residents at OGW customers saying that they received a text message saying their power was restored, but that wasn't the case?
Sure. So again, I'll talk a little bit about that. That is a source of frustration for customers and our staff alike. We have a system that automatically sends a text message when the system believes your power to be restored. So I'll give an example just to talk broadly. We have a circuit, and that circuit will have 1,000 customers on it. When those 1,000 customers are off and our team is able to re-energize the circuit, the system will say, we believe your power is restored. Now, the majority of people on that circuit may have power, but there are laterals that come off of that circuit down a specific street. If the fuse for that street was not reset, we just didn't know about it yet because we fixed the circuit, the customers on that street would receive a message saying your power is restored, and they would say, well, no, it's not. And that's why we ask you to report back in. Now our team will go out and reset that fuse. The people on that street would get a message saying your power has been restored. And you who live on that street say, well, no, it's not. And you would report it again, and then our team would come out and look and say, well, there is a problem from that lateral line to the service to your house. So we've zeroed in on it. So it's frustrating. We are working on a system that we think will give us a better ability to report that out. We know it's frustrating. That's why when we have as many outages as we had, last weekend we turned off those text alerts because people were routinely getting your power's back on. Well, no, it's not. your power's back on, because every time we fixed a circuit, we thought that we had restored power to the majority of people, but people on the laterals were not restored. We know how frustrating that is. But hopefully that's a good explanation that you all understand. The system says if the circuit's on, most people should be on. Then we'll go down to the lateral that goes down the street, then we'll go right down to the drop at your house. So, yes.
Sorry. A lot of people have not been able to report outages. Our reporter Daniel met some elderly residents of Millington who could not report them because they couldn't charge their cell phones. So what's
Sure.
the option for those who can't even report an outage in their neighborhood still 48 hours later?
So the good news is that our system does a really good job of telling us what's out. So for those very broad-ranging outages along our distribution system, we'll be able to know that they're out. Their friends and neighbors will likely be reporting that there is an outage.
Why are we doing that when so many other cities have or have?
Okay, so the question was about undergrounding. We have 60% of our infrastructure is overhead, 40% is underground. Some of the areas of outage that you saw, a broad swath of those areas do have underground infrastructure. Underground does not mean it is free from interruption, because there is overhead service that serves it somewhere, no matter where you are in the country. If we were to choose to underground all of our distribution systems, the conservative estimate is that it would double the rate that people pay for electricity on a day-to-day basis, minimum. That's what other cities have experienced. They are not free from interruption. They are not free from outages. So it is a balance of what we are, the reliability that we want to get and the price that we are willing to pay to get that. It would be a very large number to have to do that. But we have done undergrounding, 40% of it is, and there will be continued selective undergrounding for certain areas of the system.
And is there any update on the call center? We heard an announcement like last week that there was going to be one outsourcing to New Jersey. Do you have any updates on that?
Okay, let me be clear. We are not outsourcing the call center. I have 86 full-time employees, 19 part-time employee positions that I have always had, and my intention is to fill all those positions, and we have. And that team has done a wonderful job. The example that you're seeing is we asked for that contract for additional help for our call center back in December. We've just executed that contract so that when we have an event that drives call volume up, we have help that we can call on. When we don't need the help, we won't call on it. Just like we have with contractors today. Remember, I have 17 to 20 crews that work day to day at MLGW. I have 52 contracted electric crews that are coming in to help us during crisis. That's the parallel for the call center.
So that would be more of like a crisis.
That is absolutely a crisis if we have a significant number of calls. Remember, we talked about that back in December and November when we had 48-minute average speed of answer. So we put that into place, the wheels of contracting and bidding, we got those bids back. So we have it as a safety valve for us today, should we need to call on it. I want to express again how proud I am of the team. They've worked that average speed of answer down to 1 minute and 19 seconds over time, and that's where they landed in May. Now, during the storm, it may be a little bit higher, but we're experiencing pretty high call volume.
So is that, are we already calling on them right now?
No, we have not yet. All right, thanks y'all, I appreciate it.